Quick question. Have you ever noticed that your brain constantly warns you about things? Don't say that. Don't try that. Don't embarrass yourself. Don't fail. And it feels like your brain is trying to keep you safe. And in a way, it is. But here's the strange part. The mind tries to protect your life. But if you listen to it too much, it actually prevents you from living it. This is one of those beautiful contradictions about being human. Your brain's job is survival, but survival and a meaningful life are not the same goal. The brain wants safety, and growth requires discomfort. Imagine this. You send someone a message. Hours go by, no reply. Suddenly your brain starts writing a whole story. They're ignoring me. Maybe I said something weird. I think they're mad at me. Nothing actually happened. A message was sent, silence happened. But your brain filled in the blank with a threat protection, and your body reacted as if the story was real. The brain is constantly predicting threats. But why would the brain generate so many negative thoughts? Because from a survival perspective, it's safer to imagine the danger than to miss it. Your brain is basically running worst-case scenarios. Your brain evolved to prioritize threat detection. If something might be dangerous, the brain makes a prediction. That prediction shows up as a thought. What if I fail? What if they judge me? What if I get something wrong? Those thoughts feel important, but they're not facts. They're predictions designed to protect you. The problem is the brain uses the same alarm system for predators, rejection, embarrassment, and uncertainty. So its default solution is often simple. Avoid the situation. Avoidance works in the short term, but it also sends the brain a message. Good call. That situation was really dangerous. So the brain strengthens the warning the next time you face it. Here's the strange question it raises. If the brain is constantly predicting reality, how often are you reacting to what's actually happening? And how often are you reacting to the prediction your mind made about it? Most of the time, you're not reacting to the world. You're reacting to your brain's prediction of the world. The brain isn't experiencing reality directly, it's predicting it. Neuroscientists often describe the brain as a prediction machine. It generates a model of what it expects to happen, then checks incoming information to see if that prediction is correct. In other words, your brain is running a simulation of reality all the time. When you imagine failing, embarrassing yourself, rejection, the brain runs that simulation, and your body reacts to the simulation. Heart rate increases, stomach drops, muscles tense, but nothing actually happened. But the brain predicted a threat and the body responded. That's why thoughts can feel so convincing, not because they're true, but because the body reacted to the simulation the brain created. Once you understand how the system works, a few patterns start to become easier to notice. Not techniques, not fixes, just patterns in how the mind relates to its own predictions. And when you start seeing the patterns, something subtle changes. Those thoughts still appear, they just don't run the show the same way. One thing you start noticing is that the thoughts aren't the same as reality. You are not your thoughts, but the thoughts you repeatedly believe and act on shape your life. Most people treat thoughts like news reports, but they're really more like weather forecasts. Sometimes accurate, sometimes dramatic. Learning to say, interesting, my brain thinks this is dangerous, creates a small gap between you and the thought. Another pattern is how avoidance teaches the brain what to fear. The brain constantly asks, can we avoid this? Avoid the conversation, avoid the risk, avoid the challenge. But avoidance trains the brain to fear the situation more. The more you avoid something, the worse it usually gets. Growth happens when discomfort is allowed to exist and you keep moving forward. Something else I notice is a lot of our thoughts come from invisible rules in the background. Many of them we didn't choose consciously. Rules like, I must not fail. Everyone must like me. If I feel anxious, something is wrong. I can't handle discomfort. Many of these rules were learned somewhere along the way, from parents, from schools, from past experiences. So sometimes a thought isn't about the present moment. It's actually an old program running in the background. And when you notice that, you can begin to unlearn it. Here's the key shift. Most people assume belief comes first, but the brain usually learns from the opposite direction. First comes the action, then comes the evidence, and then the belief starts to change. Action creates belief. You can run 5 miles after you've run 5 miles. You believe you can speak confidently after you've done it. The brain updates its model of reality based on evidence. So instead of forcing positive thoughts, collect small pieces of evidence, one action, then another. Over time, the brain updates the story it tells about what's possible. Your brain produces thousands of thoughts every day. A belief is often just a thought repeated enough times. You don't control most of those thoughts, but you can decide which ones become beliefs. And beliefs change when the brain sees new evidence. For the next 24 hours, try something simple. Whenever the brain predicts something negative, pause and ask, is this a fact or is my brain trying to protect me? And take one small action anyway. Just collect evidence, because your brain learns faster from evidence than it does from thinking. Here's a strange truth about the mind. Your brain is trying to protect you from discomfort, but the life you want often lives on the other side of discomfort. So the real skill isn't eliminating fear, it's recognizing what it is. A prediction, a simulation of reality, a story your brain tells to keep you safe. And when you see that clearly, you have a choice. You can obey the prediction, or you can collect new evidence. Because every time you act despite the prediction, you teach your brain something powerful. Maybe this isn't dangerous after all. And slowly, action by action, your brain updates the story of who you are and what's possible.